Hello and welcome to episode 3 of 1,000 Words. This is my reflection on really good writing and what I think makes it good. I'm allowed to call it a series now, right? This is the third one, so it's a series. And the reason for the name of the series? Well, it's based on the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I think really great writing helps us paint a picture. As someone who doesn't play a musical instrument or have a particularly visual talent beyond this is what I can contribute. So let's get started. I said when I started this project that my aim would be to look at a variety of types of writing. So far, we've looked at a passage from a beloved children's book of fiction and a few paragraphs from a recent news story. Today, I'd like to turn to a small piece of sacred text, but I don't want to scare anybody off. Yes, I am a person of faith, but my goal here is not to proselytize. I'm sure we can all recognize a good piece of writing, whether it's a prayer or a poem or a piece of prose. And in the course of talking about the writing, I also think it's fun to put the content into context. If we're talking about a piece of writing, where did it come from? Why is it here? Does it have a historical or a literary or a news context? For today's passage, we're looking at a prayer that appears a couple of times in the Episcopal Book of Common Prayer. This is essentially the book that outlines the variety of church services or liturgies that we as members of the Episcopal Church perform. It's somewhat akin to the Roman Missal of the Catholic Church. And when we speak of common prayer, we don't mean common in the sense of ordinary, but we mean common as in similar. That is, we use this book to create a common experience for everyone in the faith, from one week to the next or from one service to the next. In fact, even from one day to the next. And the Book of Common Prayer has been around for quite a while. The one I was holding was originally published in 1979. And it traces its roots back to the first Anglican prayer book nearly 5 centuries ago in 1549. Thomas Cranmer wrote that prayer book. At the time, Cranmer was the first Protestant Archbishop of Canterbury. And yes, for those of you keeping score at home, he was the guy who orchestrated the nullification of King Henry VIII's marriage to Catherine of Aragon. And yes, the king's desire to annul his marriage was part of what created the split with the Pope and with the Roman Catholic Church and created the Church of England in the first place. Anyway, back to the writing. Let's go ahead and look at the prayer I want to talk about. I think when you hear it, you may agree that it's particularly appropriate for the time we're living in right now. 3 things we'll talk about on the other side of this short reading. The simplicity of the language, the use of parallelism, and the use of literary devices such as prosody and alliteration. Now, here it is. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night, and give your angels charge over those who sleep. Tend the sick, Lord Christ. Give rest to the weary. Bless the dying. Soothe the suffering. Pity the afflicted. Shield the joyous. And all for your love's sake. Amen. This prayer is used in 2 liturgies, or services. One of those services is called simply evening prayer. The other service is called Compline, which can be read in 5 or 10 minutes, sort of as a capper at the end of the day. Most of the scholars I've found attribute this prayer to St. Augustine of Hippo from the year 354 AD. This is what's known as a prayer of supplication. That is to say, the person doing the praying is asking for something, in this case, interceding on behalf of others. That contrasts with prayers of acclamation, hey, you're great, or prayers of confession, oops, I'm sorry about that, and prayers of thanksgiving, wow, thanks, I appreciate it. Now, if you look at this prayer again, I'd like to call your attention to the truly simple language it employs to convey a powerful message. This prayer is 52 words long. 43 of those words, 83% of them, are one-syllable words. 7 of them are two-syllable words. And the remaining words, well, those words are 3 syllables each, suffering and afflicted. This is not complicated language. The writer is getting out of the way. Nobody is trying to impress us with their vocabulary. The message shines through loud and clear. We live in a fragile world. We are a broken people. Please help us. So in one way, it's not the vocabulary that creates the power behind this prayer, but the vocabulary is doing its job. As I said, it's getting out of the way. It's making space for the other items that I mentioned. The literary devices of parallelism, prosody, and alliteration. Parallelism speaks to the way the two sentences in this prayer align us, that is to say us as in the readers, into a few sets of simple concepts. The writers have basically attempted to describe the whole of humankind in a subset of these 52 words. Who among us this night will not work or watch or weep or sleep? Who among us is not sick or weary, suffering or joyous? Now, let's talk about that next concept. Prosody refers to the meter and intonation of the passage. We might think of it as the degree to which the passage is poetic in its rhythm. This passage is positively brimming with poetry. It is rich with rhythm, and yet it doesn't beat us over the head with droning repetition. Keep watch, dear Lord, with those who work or watch or weep this night, and give your angels charge over those who sleep. Finally, we must speak about alliteration and her sister assonance. These refer to the repetition of leading consonant sounds or internal sounds within the words. The writer of this prayer starts with a bang, asking the Lord to keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this night. These 4 W sounds contribute to the sense of poetry. Later we rhyme weep and sleep. We ask to soothe the suffering. We ask to pity the afflicted. In less careful hands, this passage could have easily devolved into a maudlin parody of itself. Here I think the writer stays well on the right side of the line, using alliteration and assonance to build rhythm and meter and cadence, while providing the reader with enough variety to keep things interesting. Well, that's it. That's it for our third visit about a great piece of writing. One day I would love to write 2 sentences that I love as much as I love these. Until then, I'm happy to enjoy the sentences others write for me. I hope you enjoyed this reflection, and until next time, remember that the best way to be a better writer is to write. Bye-bye.